in education counseling. So I tell you all that because a big focus of our housing model is one based around empathy, kindness, listening to one another. We really we think of housing and what we provide students as a space to feel at home, a space to feel safe, cared for, heard. And so, yeah, when I started my work here, we talked a lot with my supervisor about kind of the direction of housing, and we thought that that a counselor actually could offer a lot to a program like this. I also would like to quickly introduce my two RAs who have joined us today. So if you two would like to introduce yourselves quickly.
Hi, I'm Josh. Use he, him pronouns. I'm currently, I think, a junior. It's a little weird in photo. And I'm an RA at the ACB dorm.
Hi, I'm Sydney. I'm currently a sophomore and I use she, her pronouns. And I am in the TC.
Thank you both so much. And yes, I'll use pronouns. I apologize. I let that one slip. Okay, so let's start real quick with maybe the step that some of you are on or considering, or this is before you get to CCS. So our website for signing up for housing is listed here on the screen. It's ccshousing.roomchoice.com. And what you'll be able to do here is you will first start by putting in some very quick demographic information. You'll do your name, your email, your phone number. They will ask you to select a gender. We'll get to that a little bit later, but unfortunately for now, you do have to pick one of the two, one of male or female. And like I said, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Once you pick that, you'll then move on to the room selection page. And essentially what's going to happen there is you will be able to see all of the beds that are currently available on campus. We have very few left in the Art Center building, but there should be a few. And we have a lot left in the Taubman Center. So if housing on campus is still very vital to you, we still have plenty of spaces available. During this process, you'll be able to roll your mouse over any of the students who are currently placed, and that way you'll be able to get some demographic information on them. The information you'll be able to see is name, contact information, some social media presence. You'll be able to see their major. We've asked maybe a dozen questions that pertain to living harmoniously with other people. So we ask questions like, how do you feel about sharing items? How do you feel about guests? How do you feel about noise at particular times? And that way you'll be able to kind of shop through the people who are already in there and see if you can find a good match for you. After you've picked your bed, you'll move on to the demographic page that described earlier, and you'll answer kind of all the questions that we're looking for. This will be, this is where you'll put in your emergency contact information. You'll answer all of those questions about who you are and how you live. There will be a few questions about living placement if we are looking to make a change, or if for whatever reason you would like to change. That way we can try and look at some other students and figure out what would be a good fit. After that, you'll sign the housing agreement. And then finally, you'll be directed to a page that will have the $300 housing deposit and the $20 room choice fee. And what both of those fees are is the $300 is basically like an upfront first, we could call it like a first month's rent. Essentially what you do is you put that $300 down, it gets sent to CCS. When we receive that money, we then will approve your application. So sometimes when people apply, they'll look the following day and say, well, my application hasn't been approved. Can you help me understand why? We wait until that money arrives and then we get your application approved. It usually takes as little as 48 hours, but sometimes it takes about 72. And those are business hours. So that's the application process. And that 300 is out of the original total. So if your total for a room, let's say, is $3,000 for the semester, when you go to pay August 1st, your bill will reflect $2,700 because you've already made that 300. It's not a fee. It's just the beginning of your housing payment. That money will be refundable over the summer if you do change your mind. So I highly recommend, if you are considering getting housing on campus, get your bed and get your reservation. And if you change your mind, we are allowing students to stay without any type of, you can get a refund up until June 1st. And then anything after June 1st will have an appeal. But typically we will skip the appeals process if we have people on the wait list who are waiting for that bed. And we anticipate having waitlisted students. So again, I don't anticipate the 300 being a challenge over the summer. The $20 application fee or room choice fee, as it says on this slide, is non-refundable. Room Choice is a third-party site that manages our applications for us, and that is how they get compensated. So that money is non-refundable. All right. So here's a few things about living on campus. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the important policy points and kind of the boring stuff. And then I'm going to turn it over to the RAs to kind of give you a little more enriched experience of what it's actually like to be a student living on campus. But I wanted to give you a few of the kind of nitty-gritty things first. So a few things on campus here from this site is, so first off, the website you see here is our site, is our on-campus page on the College for Creative Studies.edu page. And then you can just see here at the top, you'll see student resources, and then you'll want to go to on-campus housing, and that'll get you here. So a couple policies for you to be aware of quickly. One is our emotional support animal policy. So an emotional support animal is unlike a service animal in that a service animal is able to go with you on all places on campus, and they are trained for a specific function. And an emotional support animal is not that way. It is an animal that is prescribed by either your psychologist or your doctor, and it is to alleviate the symptom of a mental illness. And so if you believe that you qualify for an emotional support animal, we obviously do allow them. It's required by law. So you would just have to send me the vet records and the letter from the doctor. And if you need more information, you can find what needs to be in that letter from the doctor on this page. So if you have questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. Please send me an email. I'm happy to go through that with you. But I do want to make sure I point out that we need about 30 days ahead of time to get these things processed. So please don't bring your animal and your paperwork. We'd like that stuff approved ahead of time. All right. The next page, the next topic that I want to discuss is our gender neutral housing policy. As I said earlier, at the beginning of the webpage, Room Choice asks for you to select male or female. We have discussed with them trying to tweak that because it's 2021 and that's just not how people are not just binary in that way. We've asked them to change it to room type, not gender, but that's their part of the page, and so we're going to keep at that. For now, this is where we're at. So if you select male, you are going to see the beds on campus that are available for males. Same with females. If you are looking for a housing space that doesn't fit into those two categories, what I would ask you to do is send me an email and talk to me about what your needs are, because we are able to make gender neutral spaces. Our gender neutral housing policy is also on this page that I put up here, to kind of explain more about what it is. But basically what it means is it's the students who have decided to live in a space where gender is not the overriding factor for that room. So the reason we use that type of language is we have some people who just their best friend is another gender and that's who they want to live with, and they both have that agreement. Sometimes it's romantic partners. That is not our recommendation, as we have seen that not work more than we have seen it work, but it's not in our policy not to. But we also have that in place for students who don't identify as either male or female. Sometimes it's fluid. Sometimes students are transitioning. People have all sorts of experiences. So what I say is reach out to me and talk to me about what your needs are, and I will look around and see what we have. We do have some students on campus who, let's say there are 3 of them and have a 4th, and they will say, okay, we'd like this gender neutral space, and please feel free to place another student in there with us, and we'll create a safe space for them. So reach out, let me know if you have any of those types of needs, and I'm very happy to help you. All right, so I am going to, I'm going to talk about off-campus quickly, and then we'll go back into the 2 separate building types. So off-campus housing, we do get that question from time to time. The housing department here does not have any type of off-campus housing options that we are in control of. We also do not yet have any type of recommendations. We have discussed adding a bit more recommendations from the area in terms of companies that have reached out to us that would like to advertise to students. We have not done that in the past, but we're looking into doing that in the future. But as of now, we don't have anything like that. The only thing we do have for our on-campus housing page is there are resources on there to help you with that selection process. So there is a few search tools, but there's also information on things to look for in a lease, things to look for in an apartment, how to calculate what your rent and your additional fees might be. So there's tools to help you with that decision-making process, but we unfortunately do not make recommendations for off-campus housing. Okay, so let's quickly get into the 2 different campuses that we have, and in particular the housing there. So what you'll see here at the top is this is the Walter and Josephine Ford campus. Over here is a picture kind of our front lawn, and this is a classroom space. Over here is the Art Center building, and we've got some pictures inside of that in just a moment. And then down here you can see the front door of the Taubman Center, as well as kind of an overview shot. All right, so what you'll see up top here, and I do apologize, we are all of our advertising materials for the housing spaces, we had a lot of pictures and videos, and the drive that we had for that went bad. And so we are working with our institutional advancement office this summer to make a new online presence for what housing will look like. You'll be able to see drawings to give you measurements so that you know what to bring and how big the space is. You'll see pictures of all different types of rooms. It will be very robust and helpful. For now, this is what we have. So this up here will be a picture of the Taubman Center. You'll see this is the door to enter the room here, and then this will be your bathroom on the right, and then the 2 sinks are outside of the bathroom. And then this right here, this picture here, would be with your back to this door here. You'd be looking right into the room. There's 2 giant windows in most of the apartments. And then there will be 3 beds, a couch, and a coffee table. The furniture that you see in here, we have very recently repurchased all of the furniture for the Taubman Center building. And so we've got furniture that we believe looks more modern, is much more comfortable. And the most exciting thing about that space is all of the beds are now individually loftable. So essentially you'd be able to put your bed up high and still be able to fit any items underneath, but a lot of students bring desks and put them underneath. Before I forget this point, it is important. We do not provide desks in campus housing on either campus. We do that because many different disciplines require different types of workspaces. So rather than trying to determine what each room would need, we give that space to students and they can fill that in whatever way they choose with a desk. Over here, this would be a 4-person space in the Taubman. So this side is a little bit bigger, as you can see, but you would have a 4th roommate in a room like that. Okay, these pictures here would be the Art Center building. So this is a more traditional apartment style, whereas the Taubman is a more traditional dormitory. I'm sorry, I just go back with the dormitory. The average of a Taubman Center space is 3 people in a room. There are a few quads at the end of the hall, but the vast majority are 3-person spaces. In the Art Center building, first-year students have access to the 4-person spaces and the 6-person spaces. This picture that you're looking over here would be a 4-person room. This would be in the back corner of a living room. This wall over here are windows. This over here would be the full kitchen that includes a refrigerator and stove. We do not provide microwaves and we do not provide pots or pans or anything like that. Right back here is the bathroom. There is 1 bathroom for 4 people and there are 2 bathrooms for 6 people. And then there would be 2 bedrooms. So in the Art Center building, which again is a more apartment style, you would share a bedroom with 1 other person, and you would never share more than that. And then this is a picture in one of the bedrooms. And this is the newer furniture here in the ACB. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. I wanted to show you this right here is the cafeteria space. This is a picture of our dining hall. I believe this is the, looks like the saute station. I know they have a bunch of different stations there. I'll let the RAs talk about that more as they're in the cafeteria much more than I am. But we do have a full cafeteria in the Taubman Center, and we have a smaller kind of to-go cafeteria on the Art Center building. I'm sorry, on the Ford campus. I know that they are working on making some tweaks to that space for the upcoming year, so I'm not totally clear what that's going to look like. But there will be a food option there as well. The Taubman Center, it is required for you to have a meal plan in the Taubman Center. It is not required in the Art Center building because there's a kitchen. A lot of students choose to feed themselves in that way, but it is required in the Taubman. Down here, more of a picture of the cafeteria, and then right over here is a picture of the bookstore in the Taubman Center. Okay, so just to quickly talk about dining, we did talk about the meal plans. We talked about them being required in the Taubman. There are 2 sizes of meal plans. It's really important that you look those over when you're making a selection. There is kind of the small meal plan and the large meal plan. Essentially, the way that the dining dollars work is when you sign up for a meal plan, you are signing up for both semesters. So if you move into the Art Center building and you decide to sign up for a meal plan, and then in December you say, whoops, I cooked so much, I want to get out of it for January. That's not how the meal plans work. You are signing up for the academic year. In the Taubman, it is required, so not a big decision to make there. However, you will be able to decide between the small and the large one. And then all dollars that are not used in the fall semester will roll over to the winter semester. All dollars that are not used by the end of the winter semester will be forfeit. So it's very important that if it were me, I would start with the small meal plan and work my way up if that's what I decided. Unless you know yourself to be a very sizable eater, if you just have a big appetite, then certainly you can go with the big one. You are able to change the size of your meal plan at the break, at the holiday break. If that's what you choose, you can go up or go down, but you cannot go down to 0. You have to have a meal plan once you've agreed to one. Okay. So campus safety. So campus safety is a big topic on campus, as I'm sure a lot of incoming families have questions about that. Where I usually like to start with campus safety is I tell people that my wife and I moved to CCS in 2013, and we brought our dog. And so it was just the 3 of us for a while. We took our dog on walks plenty around the area, felt safe doing so. And then we had our first child also on campus. And I don't know of a more ringing endorsement than I was comfortable to have my wife, my son, and my dog all on campus. So I want to quickly talk about the points of contact from the outside to get into a CCS housing space. To start, our campus security is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have cameras all over campus that a guard is sitting at the desk watching the cameras all of the time. We also have a patrol all the time who is walking through campus, walking through the academic buildings, and then patrolling campus to make sure that all looks and feels well. Then to enter a building, each CCS student will be issued an ID badge that has a chip in it. So these ID badges will all be color coded based on your living environment. So if you live in the Art Center building, you'll have one color. If you live in the Taubman, you'll have another. And if you're a commuter, you'll have a third. And so if you live in the ACB, you do not have access to the Taubman Center, and vice versa. Your card access gets you access only to the space that you are a resident of. Commuters do not have access to those buildings unless they're being signed in as a guest. Okay, so that ID badge will scan you into the front of both buildings, the ACB and the Taubman Center. Once you get through the front door, there will be a security guard who is sitting at the desk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're there to look at the ID badge that has your picture on it. They want to make sure that the color matches so that you're in the right place, and that the picture matches to make sure that you are the person who is supposed to be holding that card. So that would be another checkpoint, is to make sure that the security guard has verified that you live there. You'll then need to take your ID card again and scan yourself up the stairs or up the elevator. In the Taubman Center, you need to scan to get out of the elevator space and into the residence hall. That extra layer is not in the Art Center building, just the way that that space is designed. And then you'll need your room key to enter your room. So there are a lot of checkpoints to get from the outside up into a space. We are partnered with the Wayne State University Police. So some people have heard that the Detroit response time is very long. That is the case. However, the Wayne State University Police response time is less than 2 minutes to CCS. So if there is an emergency and students are in quick need, that quick need is available. All right. So these are some of the pictures. What I'd like to do now is there will be plenty of time at the end for questions, but I'd like to give just a few minutes for Sydney and Josh to talk a little bit about what their experience is living on campus, why they like living here, and maybe some of the events that they've put on or that they're proud of, just to kind of give you some flavor of what it's like to live here. So Josh or Sydney, would one of you like to take that away?
Yeah, I can go. So I've been here from my freshman year, so 2 years now. And I love the TC. I've never lived at the ACB, but I wouldn't want to personally. I like the TC. But yeah, as far as events go, I think that we have great campus life. Oh my gosh, I remember that trip. During Welcome Week my freshman year, we went to Belle Isle and we got to see the fountains, and sometimes we go out and do beaches and everything. So those were some good ones during the non-COVID trip. But yeah, recently we had a spring carnival on the ACB campus, so in that sculpture garden that you saw, and you can kind of see in these pictures. So we had food trucks come in. We're having more food trucks for finals week come in and everything. We're gonna have therapy dogs. During our last carnival event, we had caricatures done, which was one of my favorite things. We had circus come in, chalk. Yeah, it was a good time. Fire pit, blankets. We pass out a lot of t-shirts. So we have a lot of wonderful events, and then there's always something going on where you can go and find food or socialize, get outdoors. We're having a lot of walks happening these next couple of weeks and everything. So yeah, we have a lot of student activities, and then the RAs also put on a lot of programs around, like we had a Just Dance, and we were having Sundays on Sunday, like, prepackaged things, passing out food there. So lots of good things. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Josh, would you like to chat a little bit?
Yeah, sorry. So I have lived at the ACB for my last 2 years. And I also dormed at Wayne State too when I was there for the 2 years before I transferred here. So just like backing up Ryan's point, I've lived in Detroit for a few years now. It is like extremely safe city. Obviously, with it being a city, I wouldn't recommend, going out alone too much when it gets later, but that's obvious. That's kind of like some just standard rules you'd practice anywhere you go. From my experience with the ACB, I've lived in both the extreme of a 6-person room and now a single room. And I can say both experiences are actually pretty enjoyable for my time. In the 6-person room, I didn't know anybody coming in, and all of them were a great experience. Most of them were either there was 2 of them who weren't there very often because they were busy working, but for the most part, everyone was super nice to each other. We hung out a lot. It was just kind of like a good group of people to hang out with. So I would very much recommend, if you have the opportunity, to try and sign up. It's a really nice dorm. You get a kitchen. If you're in the 6-person room, there is 2 bathrooms. So don't be too down if you get in that room. It is actually kind of nice. But yeah, there's common spaces downstairs. There is a gym, which when it's normal, it's accessible during the night, which is really, really nice when you just need a break from homework or just need something to do otherwise. And then for events, I can back up Sydney on the carnival. That was actually really, really fun. And there are also a bunch of other events that are just constantly happening around campus. There's a very good chance you'll just be walking around into one of the cafeterias or just somewhere around campus, and somebody is hosting an event, somebody's hosting a club, and there's a very good chance you will find something enjoyable that you can do. For one, I think I was in 3 clubs my freshman year. One was a LGBT inclusive club where we sat around and we had tea and cookies and we just kind of chatted amongst ourselves and made friends. One was a graphic design club. And this year, me and another RA, we hosted a movie month, both semesters. The first one was a Halloween movie night, and then the second one was it was an animated film month. So both of them actually were super inclusive and fun. We had a bunch of people come. Everyone was super into it. We had a bunch of talks afterwards. It was kind of crazy. There was a bunch of people in all the calls. But yeah, I would say the ACB, if you're able to get into it, I know Ryan said it's a little bit booked up right now, but it is a really good experience. So definitely, if you're able to, try and get in if you can.
Excellent. Thank you. There was one more thing I wanted to run through before we open it up to questions. I find that one bit of advice I like to pass on to people is, a lot of times I get the question, should I live in the ACB or the TC? Um, if it was my kid, kind of knowing what I know, I think that the Taubman Center really lends itself well to meeting a lot of people. It's very efficient at meeting people. So essentially the way that space is designed is there's a large public space right down the middle of the building, and then it's surrounded by student rooms. And there are 60 student rooms that surround these public spaces. And because of the way that the Taubman Center rooms are, a lot of students utilize those public spaces in terms of, you know, watching TV or getting their work done or whatever, and you just find yourself surrounded by other people often. There is tons of research that talks about the more included, you know, the more that you are engaging with campus life, the more people you're meeting, the more clubs you're a part of, the more likely you are to graduate. And since that is your goal, that's our goal, that's a big priority for us. So if it was me and I would be suggesting what my child should do at CCS, I would suggest going to the Taubman Center. I would pick your 3 best friends that you think you could live with. And then my sophomore year, I would move over to the ACB with them and have an apartment, because that is a nice experience also. But really, in terms of, I would just really want to push you to try and, because the ACB is truly a wonderful place, but because there's so much that you have in your room, there's less incentive to leave your space and to meet a bunch of other people, right? So yeah, that would be my recommendation. That being said, there are 100 reasons why you would choose your living environment. Some people have to cook. Great, live in the Art Center building. You know, some people really have a hard time with getting up and out the door, so they need to be as close to their classes as they humanly can. Also fine. But if people are just looking for some advice, that's my advice. Okay. Anything else from Josh and Sydney? Anything else pop in your mind? No? Okay. Well, I suppose at this point, if we want to start opening things to questions, do we have any questions from?
There are a couple floating out here, Ryan. One of them is move-in date, so that's probably one people want to know.
Yeah. We have a firm protocol for that yet, because we are waiting to see more about COVID stuff. But we do have the dates, and those dates are going to be, let me get you the exact ones so I don't just guess. They will be August 28th and 29th. So it will be, how do I put it? We will either have a sign up or we will assign dates, but we have it over a 2-day period so that we can essentially cut move-in into 4s, so that you'll either come in the morning or the afternoon on day 1 or day 2. That's how we did it in the past. That seemed to work well in terms of, you know, making sure we have better utilizations of the carts. There's fewer people needing the elevators, et cetera, et cetera. So that was how we found it to be most efficient this year, and that's what we'll do. What I would also say is, if there are out-of-state or international students who are needing to make plans for that very soon, plan on one of those dates on either the 28th or 29th. And if we announce this is our protocol and it's an assignment and you've already booked the flight, then let us know and we can make sure that you are moving in during your flight time. Yeah, we can be flexible.
So, a question about freshman orientation, when that will be.
Freshman orientation is the week after those 2 move-in dates. So move-in is Saturday, Sunday, and then orientation I think starts that Monday. If not Monday, definitely Tuesday. But the reason first year students come a week before the returning students is so they can participate in orientation that week. Not my department.
Really, your RAs are being very good at answering some of these questions, so they're hopping on there. So I appreciate that.
All right.
Question about, can you see that one about there's not earlier moving for out of state or international students, but I think you just said there potentially could be. So
there is a unique move-in date for first year international students, and that if you qualify for that, you will hear from the international office. We only facilitate that actually gets run through their office. But not for out of state. Out of state is considered, you would either move in the 28th or 29th with everybody else.
Right. And then, yep, somebody wanted to know about just having a mini fridge
Yeah.
in the
Mini fridge is
ACB
allowed.
as well as in the tub, and I think those are both allowed, so that's fine.
They are. What I would suggest is to be mindful. Mini fridges do draw a lot of power. So, I think students underestimate. So they'll fill a circuit with a whole bunch of things that draw a lot of power. So just to be mindful. But yes, they are allowed.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And then somebody wants to know about switching. They've already selected a building in one room. Is it too late to change to the other building?
Nope.
Done a good sell job on something.
No, they can shoot me an email and I will add it to my switch list. No problem.
Very cool. And then there's a list about what is and isn't allowed in the dorm, correct? That comes out, I believe.
Oh, yeah, they can actually go see that now.
Okay.
On the CCS webpage, on the on-campus page, there's a spot called Housing Information. And we spent a lot of time working on that. It's a document that is organized with how we think you would want information. So it's organized by, this is the info we think you'd want on day one. This is week one. This is for parents. And then this is all the kind of policy stuff. So we try and put all the stuff we think you need to know in the beginning. And then there is a page of don't bring any of this stuff. So I would definitely look that over.
And I just will put the link there here in a second. People.
Thank you.
Nope, no problem. So that kind of answers this, somebody asked, what do we bring to the ACB? So again, that link is on the website that tells you what is and isn't allowed.
Very important to communicate with your roommates ahead of time on that. Yeah, you don't want to find that you've brought 4 microwaves.
Especially in the apartment.
Yeah.
And I know I can tell you from just personal experience, my son Will graduated from CCS in December 2019, and he was in ACB all 4 years. And his first semester, he was in one of those 6-person apartments, and I was worried actually for the other students because I love my kid, but I knew what he looked like, what he lived like at home, and so I was very concerned. And believe it or not, he is still in contact with several of the students that he roomed with that freshman year. 2 of them have become very, very good friends, and several of the other ones he's in contact with. So it was a great experience all around.
Great.
Could you kind of talk about cars on campus and what it's like to have a car on campus, and if I need it, or if it's like necessary?
Maybe I'll let Josh or Sydney, do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I can actually talk on it. I personally have a car on campus, and the parking structure is, there's one on the Ford campus and one at the Taubman Center. And then there's obviously plenty of parking around Detroit too, if like something comes up and you just need to park it immediately. Both of them I've never had any issues with it. Depending on what dorm you're living at, you can park overnight and just like continuously there. But then at the other campus, you can't stay overnight. You can have your car there though for like as long as you're there for the day. He's got to move it back to the other. He's got to move back to the other structure when you get done during the day.
One thing I would want to add, those parking structures are also guarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have people checking IDs coming into the structure, and then they walk the structure. I think it's once an hour. I'm not totally clear, but I do know that they do that. And both of those are located. The Art Center building is right on campus. So you would exit the structure and walk right past our campus security office, which is a big giant glass so they can watch you walk across. And then you would just walk across campus up to the residence hall. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can connect with campus security and they would be happy to escort you if that's what you chose. The Taubman Center is just across the street from Baltimore. It's just the parking structure, Baltimore, and then the Taubman Center. Well lit, and there's crosswalk. And the same holds true if you are worried, you are welcome to get escorted by security. The other thing I would say real quick is we have zip cars on both campus, which are hourly cars that you have to be 18 or older to rent. So some students use that to get groceries. You can use the Q line to go down to Whole Foods. We have a shuttle every Sunday that runs for free that takes you to a shopping center in Oak Park. And we also have Shipt is connected with the Meijer that is on 8 Mile. So you can order food and have it delivered right to the front door of both buildings. Okay.
We also have a question about the tuition freeze. Do you want to answer that question? Can you explain the tuition freeze, or do you want me to touch on that one?
You might have more info than I do. I just heard that it happened.
Yeah. Basically, the board of directors met and discussed the options, and with everything that's been happening in the world, financially and everything else, they wanted to not look at doing an increase in tuition this year, for multiple reasons, but mostly because they recognize that a lot of people have been challenged this year financially. So that was the biggest reason for that. So I would just say, take it and say thank you very much, because they're not, there's no changes in the cost for this coming year. So that's always a good thing. If you do have any additional questions on fees, on your financial aid package, anything like that, I definitely would encourage you to reach out to the financial aid office. And I think question about stores, it looks like somebody answered in the chat.
Yeah, there are also, I'd like to point out like a lot of really good restaurants around. I know everyone goes crazy for Saitai, so there's that. We've got a bubble tea place not too far. One of my personal favorites, we've got Yum Village, so it's kind of like an Afro-Caribbean type all vegan restaurant or something, but it's super good, close to the TC. So there's all sorts of that. And we're also really close to the DIA, and you can get food there. It's, museum food, so it's pricey, but you can go there and then also walk around just to see like all the museums. So there's stuff to do.
Yeah, Detroit was really on pace. My memory is that I read a newspaper that said that they were really trying to compete nationally with restaurants. I mean, there are so many restaurants. If you're willing to do a little exploring, you can really find some fun special restaurants and some niche ones. There are, if you're really looking for something specific and you Google it, you could probably find something, within driving distance.
One quick question about the cost of a load of laundry, and there are laundry facilities in both buildings, but I don't know personally what the cost is, so you guys could answer that one.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
This past year it's been free. I don't know if it's gonna be charged again next year, but my freshman year it was $1.75 to wash and $1.75 to dry.
Mm-hmm. I suspect it will be free for one more year because we wanted to make sure that students could clean with COVID stuff. So I suspect it will be free this next year, but we might go back to the charging a year after that.
Yeah, and they are coin operated.
If I could throw something out there real quick for you guys, especially Josh and Sydney, maybe talk about some of the specific events that you guys have done on campus in the past year since we've been kind of with COVID limitations and restrictions, because I do know that is a question we see a lot from the admission side of it is, you know, what are they actually doing? Are they getting a campus experience? You know, even though there's some restrictions. So if you guys could just talk maybe about a couple things specifically that we did this past year, I think that would be really good information.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know if Sydney wanted to go first. So Sydney definitely is like a good one for this because she works with the student activities board. So she puts on a lot of events. But personally, from my experience as an RA, with this being like my first year, kind of working with like student leadership, I've hosted a decent range of events. Like I mentioned earlier, me and one of the other RAs that I'm close with, we like to host like a movie month once every semester, and we kind of like decide like a theme, and we'll just make like a big like Discord server, and we'll just kind of like normally like stream it for everyone so everyone can watch it together, and then we normally like chat and talk about it. For the most part, it's been like super fun. I really recommend coming to it if we decide to host it again next year. Otherwise, I've hosted events like how to make like postcards, which is just like a little geeky thing I do because I'm in photo. I've done stuff on how to make like resumes because I know like I'm not personally the greatest at it, but like I know how to use InDesign a little bit. So I kind of like showed everyone like some tips on how to organize it. And then most recently, me and one of the other RAs, we hosted like a alcohol like awareness event, and we had like a little obstacle course with like drunk goggles, and we were like, okay, everyone, see if you can complete the obstacle course. And I think like one person did. It was like actually like kind of like a really fun time. Everyone just like came by and they were all kind of like cheering people on or kind of like laughing at their friends if they couldn't make it through. It was a pretty great time. I'd really recommend coming to any events that your RAs or other RAs are hosting.
For sure. Going off of what Josh said, definitely go to all of the events you can, especially freshman year. It's a great way to meet people and also get involved and adjust a lot faster. Before I talk about some of the things that we've done on campus, a few recommendations for things off campus, because I saw there was a question about that. Josh had mentioned exploring the city, which I definitely recommend. Belle Isle is awesome if you have a car or can find a ride over there. Nature stuff. I know we've done bike rides up to the riverfront as one of the CCS ones, but you can also bike over to the riverfront and like walk around along the river. There's also lots of grass if you just want to hang out. Campus Martius has like a whole bunch of restaurants and I don't know, things happening over there. So if you want to like shop or walk around, it's like a little downtown hub area. And then you can also go to the Guardian building, which is right across from the TC, so the Taubman Center. And that one, they've got like bakeries and shops and everything like that. And so that's another great thing to do off campus. As far as events that we put on as well, I know I talked a little bit about it when I was first talking about things, but yeah, I'm trying to think right now. One of the ones we have coming up that I'm super excited for is we have a Ramadan gathering. So we're going to be working with our CCS Global Club, and then we're going to be teaching a little bit about henna, and then we're also going to be like, because Ramadan, they're fasting during the day and everything. And so after sunset, we're going to have catering come in, and we're going to have food and music and everything. In the past, we've also done like Holi, and that was super fun. Yeah, we've done a color throw before. That was pre-COVID, but it was still a good time. But yeah, so those are some of the things.
And just like real quick, I know I mentioned in the chat, but I would really recommend when you get to Detroit, installing an app called Eventbrite. I don't know if you can see my phone really well, but there's like tons of events that will just like pop up. Oh, I'm really bad with my phone. And you can just get tickets to it. There's like music, art, food, just like tons of stuff. I use this like all the time if I'm just looking for something to do on like the weekend. or just during the week. And so far, I've never had an issue with it. So I know it's anecdotal, but it's a great app. I really recommend trying it out if you decide to live in the dorm.
Ryan, too, can you do a clarification on bed size, the length of the beds, because we've put conflicting information in the chat. I do apologize to everyone.
That's okay. They're standard twin. Oh, standard twin. Yeah. We are looking into ordering a couple extra XLs because we did have a student reach out who is, I think, 6'3" or 6'4" and asked if we had those. And so we're looking into getting those in case more tall people want them.
I do have another very important question from a parent here, Ryan.
Yes.
Curious to know what steps, if any, CCS took last year during racial protests or preparation for any potential protests or riots in the Detroit area. On that real quick, as far as that kind of safety thing.
Yeah. In terms of, I guess there's two answers to that. One is we have a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus who is really great about, in terms of mental health response. So she has been organizing different events for staff, students, faculty in terms of education throughout the year, but has also planned ahead of time for, I think that maybe it's this Friday, like they're preparing for a group discussion on the Chauvin trial. If you want to come down, there's a safe space to talk, open up. They'll have counselors there. So in terms of mental health, there is a space for students to just try and process what they're seeing on the news and hearing from family members and, just trying to get an understanding of what's happening. In terms of physical safety, we coordinate with the Wayne State Police Department. We have a very robust security department on campus. The head of security, Mike Bruggerman, is been doing this a long time. He's outstanding at it. And so in terms of safety, if they believe that there's something on campus, again, they coordinate with the police, the Wayne State Police, and they, mobilize in that way. We didn't have any issues on campus in the past in terms of that. Like I said, we coordinate with Wayne State.
Well, and also too, you talked about those layers of security as far as just accessing the residence halls. So that, I think, will be something that hopefully will put parents at ease as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I don't know if you want to get into this one, but the question is, how do the dorm payment options work for students?
So I don't work too much on the billing side. What I can say is your housing fee will be added to, essentially, there's just one bill that becomes due. I believe it's August 2nd. And that is your tuition, your housing, any fees, all of that is lumped into one number, and then you just pay that number. And again, August 2nd is what's sticking in my mind. I do know that payment plans are available. I would talk to your financial aid officer about that. I don't have anything to do with the financial side. We're in charge of registration. So that's what I know of the payment.
Yeah, and that's the information, is definitely reach out to your financial aid counselor, talk to you about that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Somebody asking if anyone else had paid for the deposit and it hasn't been processed or taken out yet, because she still has 300 something in her account.
That might be what I was talking about earlier, where it takes a couple days to transfer over. If she thinks that she's having an issue, have her email me. I'm happy to look into it.
Right. Yeah. And I've put Ryan's email in there a couple of times. You can do that again for sure. But yeah, if you have anything specific like that, definitely feel free to reach out to Ryan. We are getting close to the end of our time. Does anybody have any other questions or anything else that they would like to find out? Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you to everyone tonight, for Josh and Sydney especially, for joining us, and Ryan for providing great information. Again, I will put Ryan's contact in the chat one more time. So if you guys do have any questions, please reach out to him and answer those questions. And you can always reach the admissions office as well. Even if we aren't necessarily who you need to speak to, we can always direct you to the right person. So if you're really concerned, reach out to your admissions counselor, and we can definitely point you in the right direction. Or if you don't quite know who you need to speak to, we can help with that as well. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Continue to have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. I think we got just about all the questions answered. If we, for sure, please reach out to us. All right. Good night, Ryan. We'll see you guys later. I'll go ahead and end it if you're okay.
We get one person put one more question they have
Oh, sorry. Did I miss it?
in the
Where is it?
chat. Let's see.
Oh, can students leave furniture over winter break?
Can students stay in the dorm for winter break?
No, leave furniture in the dorm.
That one I answered. Yes,
Oh,
they
okay,
can.
sorry.
Yes, over winter break, and no over summer break.
Yeah.
So for any break, so Cassandra, students can stay in campus housing for any of the breaks. The winter break is extra. You would need to pay for that, and you'd need approval for that. And so approval, it really comes down to if traveling is very difficult, international travel, like you don't want to pay $3,000 to fly. So international students typically get approved, out of state, long drives, unsafe homes. There's a vast array of reasons, and there is a fee for the winter, but yes, you can. We'd have to talk about why you want to stay, but yeah. Great.
Awesome.
All righty. Well, thank you all so much. Josh and Sydney, you were stellar, as always. You really appreciate both of your help. Have a lovely evening.
Yep, you guys enjoy. Stay safe in that snow up there.
Yeah, we sure will.
Oh my gosh,
All
I keep
right.
seeing it. I get more upset.
All right, you guys have a great night. Take care.
You too.
Good night.
Bye.